Have you ever felt your mind wander, caught in repetitive thoughts that you desperately wish weren't there? A subtle urge, an obsession, stealing your inner peace and even diverting you from the path you truly wish to walk. If so, you're certainly not alone. Millions around the world, especially in this digital age, are grappling with this very inner battle. But is there a way out? A path to reclaim clarity, to regain control over your own spirit? Today, I want to share with you an ancient parable from a serene mountaintop monastery, where a wise master helped his disciple find his way back. This story isn't just about a monk, it's a mirror reflecting what many of us experience. And believe me, this lesson could truly change how you perceive your own mind and your life. In this video, we'll dive deep into three crucial things. First, we'll explore the subtle yet profound difference between natural human desires and the trap of obsessive lust. Second, you'll gain a clear understanding of how these impressions form in our minds and how we unknowingly feed them. And most importantly, third, we'll uncover a practical path to purify your mind, reclaim inner peace, and find true inner strength. A path proven effective over thousands of years. Before we delve into the details, I invite you to take a moment and consider, what is truly occupying your mind most these days? Feel free to share that thought in the comments below, as we're here to learn together. But first, let's listen to the story of the young monk, a tale that will unlock the door to deeper insights. Once upon a time, on a peaceful mountain, there was a small, humble monastery where a wise Zen master lived with a few of his disciples. Their lives flowed in quiet contemplation, focused on meditation and the pursuit of inner peace. Among them was a young monk, new to the spiritual path. He was sincere and enthusiastic, yet still naive. Like the others, each morning he would descend the mountain to the nearby village to collect alms. And then one day, as the young monk knocked on a house door, a young woman opened it. Her hair was still wet from her bath, softly clinging around her radiant face. The young monk had never seen such beauty before. He could not pull his eyes away from her. The woman smiled kindly, then went inside and brought food for him. She offered it with great respect. The young monk thanked her and returned to the monastery, but her image stayed vividly alive in his mind. One point won the young monk's inner battle and gradual descent. The very next morning, he woke up earlier than usual and prepared quickly. Though monks were taught to visit different houses each day, he decided to go to the same house again. Day after day, he sought her out. Gradually, his initial curiosity transformed into a secret obsession. One morning, he even followed her to the river, hiding behind a tree as she bathed. He knew what he was doing was wrong. A fleeting sense of guilt rose in his heart. He thought, "What am I doing?" But then, the lust within him grew stronger, taking control of his mind. From that day onwards, the young monk became withdrawn, rarely speaking to anyone in the monastery. He would often sit lost in thoughts of the woman, and concentrating during meditation became incredibly difficult. It's much like how we might innocently scroll through seemingly harmless content online, and initially, it's just a fleeting curiosity. But then algorithms start feeding us more of the same, and we slowly dive deeper, spending more and more time, until it consumes our thoughts, distracting us from work, studies, or even sleep. 1.2 The Master's Intervention and the Muddy Pond Lesson. The wise master noticed the change in his disciple. One morning, as the young monk left for alms, the master secretly followed him. From a distance, he saw everything, his disciple hiding behind a tree by the riverbank, watching the woman bathe. A deep sigh escaped the master's lips. His heart was filled with sadness. The master quietly walked up to him and placed a firm hand on his shoulder. The young monk turned around, shocked and terrified. His face went pale, and his whole body began to tremble. He tried to make excuses, but his voice was shaking. The master said nothing. He simply held his hand and led him toward the mountain. After a long walk, they reached a stagnant and muddy pond. The master released his hand and asked calmly, "Can you cross this pond and come back?" Still frightened, the young monk agreed. He started removing his robe, but the master immediately stopped him and said, "Why are you removing your robe?" The disciple answered, "Master, the pond is dirty. If I go in with my robe, it will get spoiled and become dirty." The master smiled gently and said, "You are not ready to dirty your robe, which is not very precious. But you allowed your priceless mind to be stained so easily." He continued, "This robe can be washed easily. But when the mind gets dirty, it is not easy to clean it." He pointed at the muddy pond. Lust is like this mud. At first, it seems harmless, but once you step in it, it sticks to you. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink in. What's the small lesson here? We often meticulously protect our external possessions, our clothes, our belongings, our public image, but we neglect to guard our garden of the mind, allowing it to be overrun by weeds. Yet, our mind is truly priceless and deserves our utmost protection. He looked at the young monk and said, "In the same way, when you let lust into your mind, it stains you, it traps you, and if you don't stop it, it pulls you down further and further." The young disciple felt deeply ashamed. He had understood the weight of his master's words. Tears rolled down his cheeks, and he bowed to his master, saying, "Please forgive me, master. I have lost my way." So how do we cleanse our minds once they've been stained by the mud of modern life? How do we distinguish between natural desires and dangerous obsessions? Let's explore this deeper in the next section, where we'll uncover the true nature of lust and its impact on us. So, after the young monk's story, what exactly happened to him? And how can a seemingly harmless desire transform into such an obsession? To truly understand this, we need to delve into the very nature of lust, a concept often misunderstood in our modern lives. 2.1 What is sexual desire? Distinguishing a fine line. First, let's be clear. Having sexual urges is completely natural and normal. We are all born from that energy. Sexual desire is an inherent part of the human biological instinct, essential for procreation and a facet of human connection. It's not inherently evil or something to be denied. It's like feeling hungry when you need to eat, or thirsty when you need to drink. It's a signal from your body. However, there's a fine line between natural desire and what we call obsessive lust. Natural desire flows, it comes and goes, it's healthy and balanced. Obsessive lust, on the other hand, is when sexual thoughts become persistent, intrusive, consuming your mind, and you find it difficult to control them. If your mind is constantly thinking about sex, it means those thoughts have been repeatedly fed into your mind. Think of it this way: a car needs fuel to run. That's its natural desire. But if you keep overfilling the tank to the point where it overflows and becomes hazardous, that's obsessive lust. It's no longer a need, but an abuse, a loss of control. 2.2 The origin of obsessive lust in the modern age: digital imprints. So what exactly overfills our mental tank in such a way? In the modern world, the answer is often starkly clear: exposure to unhealthy content, especially pornography on the internet. This is a leading cause of these thoughts becoming obsessive and hard to manage. When we watch such content on our phones or computers, those scenes and images don't just pass by, they become deeply planted in our minds. They create deep impressions in our subconscious, much like carving an image into stone. Later, these thoughts will rise again and again, making it feel like your mind is out of control. This is often referred to as memory contamination or neural pathway reinforcement. Every time you expose yourself to stimulating content, you're a neural pathway in your brain. The more you reinforce it, the stronger that pathway becomes, and the easier it is for related thoughts to surface. Much like a well-worn path becomes clearer and easier to traverse. 2.3 The consequences of obsessive lust. The price of losing control. And the price of letting obsessive lust control your mind is what? It's not just a loss of focus at work or in studies. It leaves us feeling restless and agitated. Furthermore, it can profoundly impact every aspect of life. Mental health. You might experience anxiety, depression, guilt, shame, and isolation. This obsession leads to self-isolation, reluctance to communicate, and a gradual loss of self-confidence. Relationships. When your mind is occupied by unrealistic images and thoughts, building genuine, deep relationships becomes challenging. You might find it hard to truly connect with others or perceive relationships through a distorted lens. Performance and personal growth, energy and focus that should be directed towards work, studies, or personal goals are instead dissipated by obsessive thoughts. This hinders creativity, problem-solving abilities, and overall progress in life. Loss of inner peace, perhaps the most significant consequence. Obsessive lust robs your soul of tranquility, leaving you in a constant state of agitation, unable to find stillness and peace. The small lesson here is, never underestimate the tiny seeds you plant in your mind each day. A small imprint can become a deep scar, and a fleeting thought can turn into a captivating obsession. So, how can we heal these imprints? How can we cleanse the garden of our minds that has been overrun by the weeds of lust? The good news is, there is a path. If you stop feeding your mind with harmful content, those thoughts will automatically begin to fade. And to accelerate this cleansing process, we have a powerful tool: meditation. If allowing our minds to be tainted by lust is like sinking into a muddy pond, then the good news is, we can absolutely find our way out, wash away those stains, and return to clarity. This path isn't easy, but it is entirely within reach for each of us. 3.1 The first step: awareness and starving the feed. Remember how the Zen master didn't scold his disciple. He simply placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, helping him recognize his own actions. The first and most crucial step on the path to liberation is awareness. You must be honest with yourself about what's happening in your mind, and from there stop feeding those unwanted thoughts. Digital detox. In this age, the primary nourishment for lust often comes from our screens. This can start with simple yet powerful actions. Delete addictive social media apps or unhealthy content apps from your phone. Install filters or block inappropriate websites on your browser. Limit screen time, especially in the evening before bed. Avoiding trigger points. Each of us has unique trigger points. They could be an emotion, loneliness, boredom, a specific place, a time of day, or even a song or movie. Learn to identify these triggers and find ways to avoid them, or prepare yourself to cope when they appear. A common mistake is trying to fight or expel these thoughts by suppressing them. But like trying to push a ball underwater, it will only bounce back with more force. Instead, try to observe them without judgment, without clinging, letting them pass like clouds in the sky. 3.2 The power of meditation and mindfulness. When you stop feeding toxic thoughts, your mind begins to have the opportunity to heal itself. To accelerate this cleansing process, there is no tool more powerful than meditation and mindfulness. Meditation cleanses imprints. Meditation isn't about emptying your mind or trying not to think. It's a practice that helps you observe your thoughts and emotions objectively, without judgment. When you sit quietly and focus on your breath, you are gradually calming your mind, reducing your attachment to obsessive thoughts. Like clear water, meditation helps those impressions in your subconscious settle and gradually dissolve. It brings calmness, clarity, and inner strength. For example, try a simple exercise right now. Close your eyes or look down. Breathe deeply through your nose and exhale slowly through your mouth. Focus entirely on the sensation of your breath entering and leaving. When a thought arises, gently acknowledge it and return to your breath. Even just 5 minutes a day can make a significant difference. Mindfulness in daily life. Mindfulness isn't limited to sitting meditation. It's about bringing awareness and focus to every action, word, and thought in your daily life. For example, when eating, focus on the taste and texture of your food. When walking, feel each step, the sound of birds. When showering, notice the warm water on your skin. This helps you live fully in the present moment, reducing your mind's tendency to dwell on past obsessions or future anxieties. 3.3 Building a positive lifestyle for energy transformation. Removing the negative is necessary, but more importantly, filling that void with positive experiences. When your mind is occupied with healthy and meaningful activities, there will be less room for obsessive thoughts. Physical activity. Exercise is not just good for your body, but also a powerful antidote for your mind. Running, swimming, yoga, or any form of physical activity helps release stress, boost endorphins, the brain's natural feel-good chemicals, and transform excess energy positively. Learning and personal growth. Set new goals for yourself, learn a new skill, e.g., playing an instrument, a new language, read books, take online courses. Continuously exploring and developing your intellect will help your mind focus on beneficial things, fostering curiosity and creativity. Community connection. Humans are social creatures. Engage in volunteer work, meet positive friends, spend time with family. Healthy relationships bring a sense of meaning and connection, reducing the isolation that obsessive lust often brings. The small lesson here is, treat your mind like a garden. If you don't plant good seeds, weeds will naturally grow. Be proactive in planting seeds of knowledge, creativity, and compassion. 3.4 Self-compassion and patience. Finally, remember the Master's words to his disciple. Kan na kong phai la that by kwa kan, and hung nam li ti moi la that by. Vehe dung de emoti lan nua, man mi han va kan goen han. Accept imperfection. This journey is not a straight line. There will be times you stumble, times when old thoughts resurface. The important thing is not to be too hard on yourself. Accept that you are human and learning is a process. Forgive yourself. Don't carry the burden of past guilt. Forgive past mistakes and focus on what you can do right now to change. Patience. Like planting a tree, you cannot expect immediate fruit. It takes time, care, and persistence. Trust the process and acknowledge every small step you make. From that day onwards, the young monk truly began his real practice. He fought his inner battles, guarded his mind, and purified his heart. Many years later, he became a great teacher, known for his wisdom and deep understanding. And he often told his disciples, victory over others is temporary, but victory over oneself is eternal. This is the path to true freedom and inner peace. In our final segment, we'll summarize the most important lessons and offer a call to action, so you can begin your own journey of mental purification today. We've journeyed together through the timeless parable of the young monk and the profound lesson of the muddy pond. From recognizing the fine line between natural desires and obsessive lust, to understanding how imprints form in our minds, and finally, discovering the path to cleanse and master our own minds. 4.1 Summarizing key lessons, the power of self-mastery. The core lesson from this story is crystal clear. Our mind is our most valuable possession, and protecting it from the mud of lust is absolutely essential. If we are not proactive, unwanted thoughts, especially those fueled by toxic online content, can easily invade and dominate our lives, stealing our peace and happiness. Awareness and starving the feed. The most crucial step is to be aware of the input you're giving your mind. If you stop providing fuel for negative thoughts, they will gradually weaken. The power of meditation and mindfulness. These are potent tools to wash away deep-seated imprints in the subconscious, bringing calm, clarity, and control over your mind. Building a positive lifestyle. Filling your life with meaningful, healthy activities will not only push out the negative, but also create a vibrant, positive energy source. 4.2 The power of self-victory, true freedom. Remember the words the master taught, and also the words the young monk, who later became a great master, often told his disciples. Victory over others is temporary, but victory over oneself is eternal. This is not just a profound saying, it's a deep truth. When you conquer the temptations, the obsessions within your own mind, that is when you are truly free. You are no longer a slave to lust, to unwanted images or thoughts. You become the master of your own life, the master of your own choices. Consider those who have achieved great success in any field, sports, business, art. They haven't just defeated competitors or markets. First and foremost, they've conquered their own laziness, fear, self-doubt, or distractions that could derail their goals. That is truly sustainable victory. The small lesson here: true freedom isn't about doing whatever you want. but about not being enslaved by what you don't want. 4.3 Call to Action. Start today. The journey of purifying the mind and achieving self-mastery is a personal one, but you are not alone. Each of us has the capacity to master our own minds, to turn it into a flourishing garden rather than a muddy pond. If you are struggling with intrusive thoughts, do not despair. Start today. Try what we've discussed. First, acknowledge and bravely stop feeding negative content. Second, dedicate a few minutes each day to meditation and practical mindfulness. And third, actively engage in healthy, meaningful activities to fill your mind. If you find these thoughts too overwhelming, beyond your self-control, and severely impacting your life, do not hesitate to seek help from mental health professionals or counselors. That is not a sign of weakness, but a strong and wise step. Remember, your mind is a priceless treasure. Protect it, nurture it, and you will find your life becomes clearer, more focused, more peaceful, and full of strength. I believe you can do it. If this video resonates with you, please hit the like button, leave a comment sharing your thoughts or lessons learned from this video. Every interaction from you is a huge motivation for us to continue spreading positive messages. And don't forget to subscribe to Buddha's Pathway and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next insightful videos on the journey to inner peace and wisdom. Together, we will continue to explore spiritual paths, timeless lessons to lead a more fulfilling and meaningful life. Thank you for walking with us on Buddha's Pathway.